But whose day did they spoil? Well, quite a few of our duos. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back to talk about the leaderboard.
Pero, ¿por qué no say play?
Get to the other side. Always there. I don't know, it's funny. Yeah, it's
Not ready, I can play too.
Pero ¿por qué me va a venir si yo no he hecho nada?
Sky is Stroller starting to dominate
the rest of this lobby. They have shown so much consistency today. They've got themselves 2 victory royales back to back. No less. Let's take a look at the leaderboard and catch up with the other duos in contention. Scouty was talking about the fact that Skysport, they are the only duo that's managed to place with
We've got a couple of duos who, apart from one outlier, are certainly still managing to perform, and one of those duos is Cami and Hari. The last couple of end games, we have seen these guys truly step up.
Yeah, we talked about back-to-back wins from Sky and Scroll. Cami and Hari got back-to-back second places, Minnie. I mean, you can't get much more consistent than that. All that's left is the win.
Yeah, all that's left is a win for these guys, but they'll be more than happy with how today has gone so far. Of course, that drop spot that they had, uncontested, the Cami split looking really strong off spawn at the moment, as well as making it to these end games. And this is exactly where these guys just know how to play these end games. Both of them have so much experience, and it was very unfortunate, of course, that they didn't qualify straight to the global championships from the summit. So it's really nice to see them actually popping off right now, almost guaranteeing them a spot at the summit if they keep this level of gameplay up. Yeah, to be honest, they're just performing incredibly well, making those end games successfully. They've only had one bad game that's outside of the top 10, but exactly what you'd expect really from a team of this course.
And Cringe and Twy, I think that we expected them to do well, especially after picking up that valuable experience at the summit. But I don't know if anyone expected them to do this well. They're able to take risks in the end game.
Wow, yeah, they're just absolutely absolutely
Oh
popping
yeah,
off
they're
right
just
now. I know
absolutely popping off right now. I know a lot of people looked at the hospital situation, looked at the drop map on paper, it's still contested, not looking good. But as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, that actually gives them the buff. They're so good.
Wiping
That
Radial and
top
his
spot, they're
team
actually
that
wiping
aren't there
Radial
at
and
the
his team
moment.
that
And
aren't there
even as
at
far
the
as just solo
moment.
clutching here, we've seen Cringe do it in a couple of games right now, just giving them that extra little bit of juice in these games to make it through as much as they have been so far. They are the highest eliminator, or the second highest eliminator in the lobby as well, behind Sky and Scroll. So everything seems to be falling into place for them right now.
Yeah, it's kind of what we were predicting in the pre-show in terms of them doing well while contested, and we talked about Cam and Harry back-to-back seconds. This one isn't back-to-back, but Cringe to I have 2 third places now as well. So we got double thirds, double seconds, and then double firsts from a 3-2-1 on the leaderboard right now.
They're a team that's clearly refined their game plan, expected to be contested, knowing and understanding what they need to do to get to the end game. And I do have questions about Shark and Teeny, whether they're able to do that in a stacked grand finals lobby. Because Mini Minor, we saw this early game fight with Axels and Bevis. And even though Shark found himself in a solo situation, he decided to pursue Bevis across the map to waste valuable time. And I wonder if that's impacting them now in early games.
It's not something that we've necessarily associated with these guys. We've associated them with being able to wipe through teams really quickly. Of course, big credit to Shark here for actually doing this round. I said through the back watching this 16 HP. They are going to go down right here. I did not expect this from Shark, despite the fact his name is Shark. I really should have expected him. But the way he took down Bevis right here at the end, which was play around a bit, really impressive. But like you mentioned, Frankie, it does set their game back a little bit. It does in the end of the play doing a couple of times today as well. And then they're a team that, needs to rely on those refreshes earlier on in the end game to Carter to actually give them that juice to make it through the rest of the game as well.
A team that can get those refreshes early on, play extra aggressive, but you want to set yourself up for those fights quickly. Fires the heats, but it's much more difficult in grand finals. To do it, but it's taken a bit too long to close these fights out. They're best position to play them out, and it's just not really going their way. They haven't closed the day off in a very positive way.
Mini Minor, do you think that's what we're going to see? The final 2 games are looking much stronger for these guys. So do you think they need overnight to VOD review and just work things out?
I think the VOD will really help, and I think Teeny will be really good at that. Sort of looking back, we sort of seen them come back from the past, and the strategies that he's sort of been picking up. I think the main issue for them right now is the Sky Squad seems to be so consistent. I think the rest of the lobby not in a lot of the games, and a bit of a mistake because they're finding and nobody else is really running away with it. But if Sky and Scroll continues to have the performances that they are, it might just be too far away for Shark and Teeny to take.
Well, we've got 2 more games left tonight, so let's get into them with 11.
We have 2 more games, like Frankie just said. Excuses. You can't be running excuses anymore. You've had the chance to feel out the lobby in the first 4 games. You now have to make changes or try and do things to keep the lead you have on the lobby so far in this EU Grand.
It's just so tough because when you look back at the leaderboard that's already started to accrue, Sky Scroll, 2 victory royales here in day 1, the only duo to have that level of success so far in this major grand finals. And it's just tough because you're trying to match their pace, you're trying to play catch up as well with everyone else in the lobby, and you don't have many matches left to do it. So with game 5, let's see what happens next.
What we see in these next 2 games will determine how happy we are with the potential back-to-back FNCS major champions from Sky and Scroll here in EU, or whether there is another team, a newer team, newer names, who look to show that they are worthy of the prize. Here at Cringe and Twilight Tackle, I'm not gonna lie, I've been waiting to do this. But boy, does it feel good to have a UK team fighting on top. I mean, I'd love to see these 2 young stars finally make their mark. 2 players who have been around the EU for some years now. Two players who have shown signs of potential over the years, but here in this major, I think we're really seeing them grow into top talents.
And I want to touch more on that in a moment here. First, we got to see what's been taking place at Sinister Strip. Pablo Chino, just a mess. Dealing with Wi-Fi and Boris. I mean, good to finally be the ones to make a statement and come out on top. But the last couple of lobbies, 11, ever since the first match of the day, really, for Chino and Pablo, ever since they got surprise contested, that second place placement immediately disappeared. And having to experience that back-to-back of being eliminated so early on, they have a long road to recovery set out in front of them. Game 5 could be a great starting point, though, just to make sure they don't leave off on the day too rough of a position.
Yeah, and of course, went down last game, so as we saw, he's still up with this game this time around. Still opportunity to for the top of the leaderboard now for them. Stroking O'Reilly, this has been quite messy all throughout the day. I think quite personal as well, I'm sure.
A little bit of peekaboo there with the strokey, but no, O'Reilly gonna be the one with the closing punches as Ping and Ghost taken out.
Yeah, no, O'Reilly just has the angle advantage on him. The jump shot as well behind the wall is so tough to deal with if you are Ping.
Nice little check-in with what
Myself check in with what
been getting
Vika
up to.
initial elimination though, onto win their
Hellfire in a bit
But
of a
Hellfire
predicament,
in
to
a
say
bit
the
of a
least,
predicament, to say the
hiding
least,
out,
just
little shack
hiding out,
Malabuka,
shack hoping that Nico
figure out where
Malabuka
exactly
don't
he's
figure out where exactly
trying
he's
to tuck away, but
trying to
Pico
go
will
away, but
discover
Pico will discover exactly where Hellfire is at.
and Pico
On the look,
actually brought
and
down,
Pico
unfortunately, Malabuka
down. Fortunately, Malabuka
to play
able
saving grace here,
to
but
play saving grace
a little
here,
bit of
but
damage against them.
little
In
bit
terms of
damage
surge
against
still,
them. In
ultimately,
terms of
two
surge, still
eliminations to boot.
ultimately two
It's gotta lead
eliminations
them
to
off on the
boot.
right foot still.
It's gotta lead them off on the right foot still.
Rolling the years back.
Rolling the years back, but Malabuka bringing it back to reality.
Fought against each other.
It's two players who have fought against each other for many years now here in the EU.
The Summit champs who reign on top of that battle.
Summit champs who reign on top of that battle.
Inox and Velo. We did pose the question to them after this Savage and Truly's start. Are they gonna, fall behind and lose control of that rivalry?
Fall behind and lose control of that rivalry. Boy, the base shot up there.
Very well so far today, and still plenty more opportunities.
Very well so far today,
which I'm sure
still plenty more opportunities to pick up some points, which I'm sure they will. Currently sitting in 6th place.
Desperately trying to make sure they secure a spot for the global championship.
Still a scary spot to be in, though, just knowing that Cringe and Twy on the move. Meanwhile, tucked away, waiting for that reboot opportunity. Cluster Coast, though, still not completely settled, as Medius and Fredoxy have decided to throw their names into the bunch, as Podesai, Sato also looking to see whether or not they can finally get a little bit of a rhythm going here in this 5th game, but still held at bay here. They know that Fredoxy and Medius are still trailing just behind them, but the further in that they go, the more likely they are to encounter the likes of Frostroki and O'Reilly, for example, and that could be a whole different problem.
Yeah, and the reality of both those duos have had probably quite the day to forget, right? And so they'll be looking to make the most out of these last 2 games. And you might just have to start cannibalizing some of the other people at the bottom of the leaderboard to try and give you the boost, the leg up. Talk about these two though. Taco, I mean, what a day so far. Completely shutting up any question marks about whether or not these guys were still at the top of their game.
But it is still a bit funny.
But you really boil it all down. Because Sky and Scroll, I'm not going to say they were looking like a shell of themselves, but there was definitely a bit of a stretch post-summit where we saw them encounter their first like share of struggles. The divisional cup performances weren't panning out the way that they were intending.
Probably biggest highlights leading into this grand weekend may have even come from their instances in recent evaluation cup finals, but even then, it's just such a different landscape compared to a grand final set lobby. And Shark, always on the lookout. Big elimination here onto Vidil right now, cutting short any sort of momentum that Vidil and Ju might have started building up here, and it's an even tougher break when you factor in that Ju, he's right there in their surge base, center map exactly on the 0 point, so you have to wonder how exactly did Shark manage to sneak up on his duo so successfully at the vending here, and Vidil just no opportunity.
Not my boy Vidil. I hate it had to be you, Vidil, but you know, just another one to add to the Shark highlight reel. Great piece control coming through, and the exact type of thing you expect to see from Shark. Hopefully we can start to see a bit more of it, but in endgames, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
I think there's plenty of people right now wondering where Shark and Teeny have been at in a lot of these endgame instances, but still can't put it past them. 5 in the final hours. This Plixie trap got Ivan on the run, and bear in mind what we witnessed just a couple months ago.
As you all know, if I was a fish, here's what I'll do. Step 1, I need to be aware. 1 goal, and I am done. So I am not going to fight a shark head on. Instead, I will find a school of small fishes, because small fishes always follow the movement. Which drive-thru has the most radioactive items? Starting with McDonald's. Hey.
Whoever they can prevent from EU, that's going to be the starting point.
This is a team I know you were very excited for going into the competition today, Taco. You told me you had high hopes of an MVP-like performance from Hari. And even though I'm sure there are many people before today who would have heard you say that and thought, what on earth is the best Taco on about? So far, these guys are not wrong. These guys are playing at a level I think we haven't really seen from them so far this year.
Can I get your most radioactive item? No? They gave me a Big Mac. And this isn't that radioactive. I give it like a 4 out of 10. And next is Burger King. And they gave me active plutonium. Which drive-thru has the most radioactive items? Starting with McDonald's. Hey, can I get your most radioactive item? No? They gave me a Big Mac. And this isn't that radioactive. I give it like a 4 out of 10. And next is Burger King, and they gave me active plutonium. Which drive-thru has the most radioactive items? Starting with McDonald's. Hey, can I get your most radioactive item? If the zombie apocalypse broke out today, here's how you can get all the Peely sprites in Fortnite. This sprite and its variants are pretty easy to find. So run this sprite chest route, because this is the exact one I use to find every single version. And we are almost finished with this season, so if you still need something for your collection, then comment your epic username, and I can try to help some people out. Here's how you can get all the Peely sprites in Fortnite. This sprite and its variants are pretty easy to find. So run this sprite chest route, because this is the exact one I use to find every single version. And we are almost finished with this season, so if you still need something for your collection, then comment your epic username, and I can try to help some people out. Here's how you can get all the Peely sprites in Fortnite. This sprite and its variants are pretty easy to find. So run this sprite chest route, because this is the exact one I use to find every single version. And we are almost finished with this season, so if you still need something for your collection, then comment your epic username, and I can try to help some people out. Here's how you can get all the Peely sprites in Fortnite. This sprite and its variants are pretty easy to find. So run this sprite chest route. No. Let me do it. See, you're scared. You know that you can't do this. Hey, you know you can't do it on my field. Yes.
Who have had a slightly better day in comparison to Marius and Prodoxy, so they don't want to find themselves on the receiving end of any form of punishment, because you don't want to get stuck in your tracks in the last couple of games. Be a bit of a damper.
Yeah, and I think this has been disappointing from Fred and Marius, just because in recent weeks they've really started to just actually show quite a bit that was inspiring. I think both of them have obviously had pretty rough years so far. Marius didn't really impress when it came to his time with iDrop and Fredoxy, would probably rather if we didn't speak about how 2026 competitive has gone for him. But after what we saw in the heats and some other cups, it just felt like they were going to rock up into Grands today and just really re-establish why they are two top names in Denmark. Currently being outshined by plenty of other top dames though in this lobby who have been impressing quite a fair amount. Rax and Yanis, what do you make of their performance so far, Taco? Has it been at the level you were expecting?
It's had its highlights, but I don't want to call it a full dip just yet. Just they've had some issues with replicating consistency metrics. They've still done enough to put themselves into a very solid position on the leaderboard, but everybody's just kind of waiting to see them get over that last little speed bump, right? And, well, they're not the only ones having a tough time in this lobby. It's nice and scary. Yeah, this is
guys, this is not trios anymore. Pablo, Chino, Fredoxy is not on your team. He's lurking against you. He's not lurking with you. What is going on? They don't even realize that he just got shot right behind them. The Fred lurk of doom is coming through. Will he catch on to anything? No, they catch him out. Oh my god, I thought we were about to get a generational Fred lurk right there on his former trio. That would have been so good. But we will have to wait to see it come through.
Depending on who you ask, they might say it was, but maybe not the kind that you would want it to be. Medius and Fredoxy, they're going to disengage. They've scouted out. Another duo is starting to creep their way in, and that's going to be Flixie and Chap. They don't want to get caught between two separate teams. Nobody likes a third-party fiasco after all, even though Chino and Pablo nearly experienced it. But Chino and Pablo clearly on a bit of a tear here, Levin. 4 eliminations now. That off-spawn against Wi-Fi and Boris. This is realistically just Chino and Pablo trying to remind the lobby that, you know, they are big dogs in EU for a reason. And so it's not a surprise to see them getting a little bit more fraggy, a little bit more proactive with the aggression, because they know they have to make up a lot of points.
Yeah, they have so much to make up for. Look, Chino's and Pablo's placements in the last, so far today, well, I'll just give you the scope of the whole day, right? First game, second place, 2 elims. You're thinking, oh, they're back. We're getting a repeat of Major 1. Then a 49th, and a 50th. They haven't sniffed this lobby. They've not even got to see anything. They couldn't tell you a single thing about this lobby today. And so, again, in these next couple of games, this game and the last one of the day, they really have to make up and show us what we saw in that first game from them.
Show us exactly what they're capable of, that's for sure. And it's not going to be easy because we have been seeing that exact type of performance from Cringe and Twy all day long so far. And obviously, they want to maintain their position. They're sort of tying things up here with Sky and Scroll, trying to stay in that contention period. The Victory Royale certainly working against them a bit, having to witness Sky and Scroll pick up 2 of them, but right now, it's all about Cringe and Twy just not getting stopped in their tracks. A couple different duos looking their way. Surge as well, ticking at their HP bars. They'll have Chug Jugs, a pair of them, but what they need right now is just that little bit of damage. It's hardly any at all even, but when they both have to spend time healing, neither of them really gets the opportunities they would like to look for the shots. Fortunately, Surge does tick over in their favor despite not closing in on anything just yet, but Levin, they still need so much more damage, realistically speaking. Otherwise, they're going to constantly be teeter-tottering this fine line of just above and just below on the Surge threshold.
Yeah, this is not a good situation for them whatsoever. And when we talked about needing a team to really step up to push Sky and Scroll to their limits, if our second place team can't handle that pressure, it's gonna have to be someone else that steps in. For Cringe and Twy, regardless of how things pan out from here, they have shown the talent, they have shown the potential, but it takes some real veteran experience, a cool, calm, collected head to handle the tougher games of the FNCS Grand Finals, to know how to deal with them and to bounce back and to recover them. And so we'll quickly find out just how good these guys truly are here.
I don't even want to look at the left side of the screen. Just knowing that it's Teeny one more time as a solo, and this is their backyard. Calamari Canyon, you would expect that Shark and Teeny might be faring a bit better. But the way that these zones have been pooling, and yet still haunted by some of these early game transgressions, and Teeny will manage to try and pick up somewhat the reload. I believe might have even been body loot off of Shark directly, but the fact of the matter is, these two have really struggled to just be a duo in these endgame circumstances. We're seeing Shark go crazy at the start of it all, and then sort of just fizzles out, and now Teeny in a really tough spot here, doing everything he can to try and buy himself a little bit more time, but this lobby is just not giving way.
Yeah, look, everybody in this lobby is gonna spend this evening and tomorrow morning preparing so much, VODing, watching back every game, figuring out where they can find an advantage to have a better day too. I don't think anybody needs to put in more time and more effort tonight than Teeny and Shark. The expectations were so high for them, and they just haven't been able to deliver.
It's definitely just such a tough spot to be in, but Gonzo and iDrop just caught in the porta potty trap of doom here by Savage and Truly. They had it boxed up and ready. They set that trap. Don't know how long they sat there lying in wait, but their patience definitely paying off dividends because they are well above on Surge. And with 4 eliminations to be included to the overall count here, Levin, just able to follow this next favorable zone pool. And are just continuing to stay ahead of the rest of the pack here. It's Thomas and Focus, another duo where we haven't necessarily had too much opportunity to revisit where they currently stand, but 90 points on the day. It's certainly been a rough one.
Such a quiet day. Uncharacteristically quiet from Thomas and Focus. And that was part of the worry. We didn't really get to see much of this team, right? Of course, they won their first heat game and they were out of the lobby. We couldn't get to establish just how ready they'd be for this stage. Teeny, though, barely staying alive down below. How many games have we seen him literally in this exact position, Taco, with just no HP to work with, no time to even get some semblance of calm in this lobby? Everything's so rushed, everything's so pressed. He will run his way into another team, and so all that time spent healing up with the med kit just completely taken away. And right now we're watching Cammy and Hari, and they are the team to watch. They are looking like the team with the best chance, at least in this game, the healthiest, to try and stop these guys, Sky and Scroll, who once again will look to patrol these mid and low ground layers.
Sky and Scroll, they're actually going to need a little bit of help here. Teeny finally eliminated by Twy just a little bit further up, but Thomas and Focus doing a great job to suppress the lobby. And the problem there that we saw from Sky and Scroll, at least, Scroll didn't have any overdrive grenades. He didn't have any kind of mobility, and Hari, Cammy really starting to pick up some steam here as they start to make their way. Full sending on the high ground, but Malibuka just gets caught in the thick of it between Focus and Thomas, and he'll be brought down for it. But now Vico looking to play spoiler for what Focus and Thomas have been picking up, and damage may have been enough here. Focus will be healthy and left over, but Thomas won't get to continue.
And Pixie saw the opportunity and he went up for height. He doesn't care that he's a solo. He identifies the weakness and he'll look to capture it for himself. Needs to be careful though, because Focus is still way deep in the storm and still has all the lines of sight to get the damage needed. Plenty of HP to work with as well, but he has players on his wall, needs to fend them off. Can Focus do it? Yes, he can. Pix will be dropped and that HP will do wonders for him now.
And that is going to be the turnaround point right now for Focus, because there are so many solos still just scrambling around on these lower layers. Truly going to be the next one up, but he'll take out Leches, he'll take out Cringe, and see what more he can actually try in a crew. But Focus just looking down upon all of it, leading the charge here from overhead, going up, ready to descend. The Victor Royale, this is exactly the type of point conversion that Focus and Thomas have been sorely missing on the day 11, and just like that, Focus waiting for the perfect opportunity to close this one out. There's no room for error here, as Focus just steadily making sure that he has the best possible position to shut this one down. Great blockage there. Won't allow a need to go upwards just yet, but Focus still waiting for that final shot to connect, and he gets it. 11 eliminations in total is a pretty steep hill to climb, but that's exactly what they needed. That point disparity was everything for them.
They made us wait for it a bit at the end, but the wait is finally over. Focus and Thomas announced themselves to the lobby.
That was absolute insanity from Focus, losing Thomas to that contestation by Vico and Malabuka, managing to hold on, sending himself over the top. We thought, did he miss the landing? No, that clearly was the plan all along to Carter. A generational clutch by Focus.
Taco said it best. This is exactly what they needed. It was not looking good going into this match. They were surprise contested last minute, and it has not gone their way. 31st is where they were going into this. Focus looking lethal. I mean, the amount of eliminations he picked up in the end. There was a moment where I think there was like 10 players up. I blinked my eyes, looked back, and it was a 1v1. Everybody just started going down second after second. But in the end, Thomas HD and Focus closed it out.
Yeah, they played that so smartly. Of course, they took height really early on, and when you do that, you always have to be susceptible to that contestation. Of course, it was Vico and Malabuka who ended up doing it. Nice little 1v2, or 2v1, I suppose you could say, from Focus and Thomas onto Malabuka to take him out firstly. And then, of course, Focus still had it all to do against none other than Vico. Of course, could stay so much far back in the storm with all those chug jugs as well. And from there on out, Focus doing exactly what Focus does best and showing why Thomas HD picked him up for this major as well. And of course, just popping off so much. It's a duo that we expect to see do so well, of course, at those global championships as well. And yeah, this is a team that just now finally have awoken to Carter, and who knows now what they can go on to do.
I'm realizing too, Focus literally got these 7 eliminations as a solo, basically. The first 2 were when Thomas went down, and Focus had 0 on the board at the time. From 0 to a victory royale and 7 eliminations. I'm really hoping that launches them up the leaderboard, because they're gonna need it to make something happen in day 2.
Yeah, I mean, I said generational clutch. I actually stole that phrase from Takata, because as we were watching that in the green room, you called it Takata. You knew that Focus was going to take that way before that final 1v1 situation. And hopefully we can see more from them. As you said, these guys really needed that. Yes, they have qualified for Antwerp, but we always know that Thomas is looking for number 1. Will he find it in the next game after the break? have one more game of day 1 of the FNCS Europe Major 2 finals. And to be honest, I'm not going to sleep tonight. I'm going to be anticipating day 2 because of all the action we've had so far. There's been so much drama. So let's take a look at the leaderboard and see how things have shifted, because klaxon alert, Sky and Scroll had their worst game of the day so far, and it's allowed Cringe and Twy to take the top spot, Mini.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, Sky and Scroll had the really bad game right there. Their worst of the day, like you mentioned. But of course, the teams around them actually had a decent game as well. So it's just closed that gap. And you can see, of course, now Cringe and Twy use that opportunity to actually overtake Sky and Scroll by a number of points, 12 points on the leaderboard right there. And this is exactly what Cringe and Twy need to keep doing. These guys now need to become that Sky and Scroll. They need to become that consistency team in the lobby. And there's no reason why they can't be Takata. They've been showing up in every single game and showing us exactly how good they can be in these end game moments, especially in these frags. A lot of these end game eliminations, they're now our sort of best elimination team in terms of average eliminations. So just showing us what they can do here.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing putting them apart from Sky and Scroll was that Sky and Scroll didn't have a game outside the top 10, but now they have. So both the duos are incredibly close in terms of consistency. But what makes Cringe and Twy so dangerous for Sky and Scroll and even the rest of the lobby is not only are they playing incredibly consistently, look at the amount of eliminations that they have. 25 as a duo, more than anyone else in the top 10. They're consistently making endgames and they're consistently getting eliminations.
Now, everyone watching at home, remember that some of the duos in this top 10 have already qualified for the Global Championship. There's 9 qualified duos in total in the lobby tonight, and there's 9 spaces up for grabs. So let's take a look at page number 2. Now, Takata, you pointed out to us before, during the break, that we should be looking at the top 14 here if we include Shark and Tini, who have, of course, qualified. And you can see Vico and Mali, another one of those duos, in 11th. Now, they're an interesting duo. I wonder if they're taking risks because they can, because of the fact they've qualified, or because that's the only way to get something done, because something's not clicking for these guys in the lobby tonight, Takata.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it taking risks. When you think of Vico Malabuca, they're not a team that like to stagger things out. They play to their best of their ability every time. They qualified instantly through the heats. They are going to do the best that they possibly can. And you know, we haven't quite seen that from them today. They're still doing good, you know, they're 11th, but for the duo that they are, it's not what you'd expect from them. It's not what you want from Summit champions, to be outside of the top 10. You want them to be in that first place spot.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me a lot of their last season's performances coming into Grands. A lot of the times, and a lot of the times coming to the Summit as well, they were quite sort of prone to a lot of errors. They kept on making a lot of mistakes in a lot of these games. They kept making those big plays, and they just weren't necessarily paying off. And that was sort of the theme of their entire season, of course. Then, of course, when it comes to the Grand Finals and comes to the Summit, those risks and those plays that they try and make do then come off, and it goes in their favor. But now you can see them again, almost going back to their own ways in a lot of ways. They haven't been able to build on that momentum that we saw from the Summit and Major 1 of last season. So it's really interesting to see actually that unfolding here. I would have expected a lot better from them. But again, what are they, 11th place right now? They're not completely out of it, which is good news for them.
They're not, definitely. We've got 7 more games to go. And we know from experience of watching these grand finals that everything can change on day 2, even without that 1.5x multiplier we used to have in these situations. Let's take another look at the leaderboard. Let's go to page 2. I want to see where Savage and Truly are, because memorably, we saw them picking up the first victory royale of the night, currently actually on page number 1. So even though we haven't really been speaking about them in the last few post games, actually, they're managing to hold on to Carter.
Yeah, Levin just had to speak up. He started bringing the whole click scenario in after that win. He was hyping it up. Then they get 18th, 32nd, 19th. The good news is the jinx has kind of faded away. 4th place, 5 eliminations. This is what we like to see, especially from Truly. What a performance, not only in the heats or in their qualifying to these finals, but actually performing as well in the major finals is what you love to see.
Yeah, and in those heats, it was actually Mr. Savage that was doing a lot of the clutching. Remember, of course, they couldn't then qualify through. Truly's now the person that seems to be clutching so much in these games and trying to push his team over the line and having a little bit of success with it as well. So it does seem like Truly is just stepping up to the plate right now in terms of actual performance in this major finals, when you'd expect Mr. Savage maybe to be the player that's sort of that calm force that's, you know, is staying alive longer in these end games because he's played so many of these grand finals before. It's actually really nice to see Truly performing at the level that he is.
Yeah, I mean, we all want to see Savage and Truly make it to the Global Championships in Antwerp. The tickets sold out so fast. There are going to be so many Savage fans in attendance, and we don't want to disappoint you. And let's face it, with the competition we're seeing tonight, we definitely won't. So let's head into our final game of day one for more action with Takata and Levin.
Can't get too ahead of ourselves just yet, though, Frankie, because this is still just day one of the Major Grands competition. And you have to remember, yes, closing out the day with a strong performance, always an excellent feeling, Levin, but we've already been seeing some of the micro adjustments from so many of our teams in these off-spawn scenarios, and that's likely only going to keep going up as the tourney goes on.
So many lessons learned. My apologies there. Look, I think when you look at the way the past 5 games have gone, it's clear what we have cooking up here in EU, and I think game number 6 will only be more of that. So let's jump right in. I am glad I do have Taco by my side instead of Takata, because he started to try diss me there in that in-between game. I noticed. I don't know what that's all about. Maybe he's upset because Sires and Scary ain't doing as hot as he thought they would, or something like that. You know, he doesn't like to see, you know, Cringe and Twy, the UK boys, bossing it. But either way, here in this final game, over at Cluster Closed, a lot less chaotic than what we've been seeing. I'm curious as to where Ping and Ghost are now, because that's obviously the fight we've been watching here all day long.
And look, part of me gets it, because first 5 lobbies, not the off spawn the outcome that you would want. Trying to see if they can shift course at the tail end of the day, but part of it's also, Levin, just a lot of these teams sort of reflecting on their current position on the leaderboard. And yes, there is a 2-day format, but even still, you're not the only duos looking to try and have that resurgence in points. And now we see problems building. Velo, Zynox getting active against the likes. Hellfire, Winter, Johnny Buka, Latte landing, just in a bit of a dispute for who's actually going to take it all home. And looks like Velo and Zynox had proper third-party intervention, because they've swooped in and stolen the spotlight.
Look, if this new era of, you know, EU Fortnite is just a bunch of British players just bossing it, like, I'm more than fine. I'm here for it, you know? I will be here for many more years if this is what we get to watch. Of course, you do have the Danes. You can never forget the Danes. They seem to just completely dominate EU Fortnite.
Production won't let us forget the Danes.
Yeah, no, they won't. But look, rightfully so. I think they ran the stat earlier about how, like, the past 3 FNCS wins in EU have had a Danish player. And, you know, at the rate Sky and Scroll are playing, it might be 4. So you got to put some respect on the Danes. This Dane in particular, though, Thomas HD, is one who is still looking for more and more of that respect. Of course, they've not had the best of starts to the day. They've been here fighting against Kiwi and Rick, or Kiwski, sorry, and Rick all day long. And more often than not, they've come out on top of this fight, but it hasn't converted Taco into, you know, high-scoring games apart from that last one.
And it's replicating that sort of magic from the last lobby that Thomas and Focus are going to be on the hunt for to close out game number 6 of day 1. 2 eliminations, though, already under the belt. Definitely a nice start here, but Savage and Truly, a spot of trouble here now, as Nathan and Nebs are going to be the ones giving chase. And this could be such a bad shutdown. Just toying with Savage at the end of it all, playing with their food, but this is a very tough break right now for Savage and Truly, given the day that they had for things to sort of collapse at the final seconds. Fortunately, they do still have day 2, but they would definitely like to keep building up points from day 1.
Yeah, this was one I was interested in as well. Obviously, we know Wi-Fi and Boris have been giving Chino and Pablo problems all day long. And this time around, it looks like the fight just outside of Sinister is where they will focus their attention. For now, Cringe and Twy will take Hari out. That is, again, significant. We're still here in day 1. But when you have our teams at the top of the leaderboard battling it out like this, that is not going to be favorable whatsoever. Hari, Cammy, not known for their mid-game fighting prowess. That is where Cringe and Twy have them beats, known for their endgame excellence, and Cringe and Twy not even trying to give them an opportunity to make it to endgame now.
Look, there were rumors at the start of the day that Cammy and Hari were going to be potentially contested. That didn't actually come to fruition. Cammy and Hari have been able to sort of ride things out the way that they were anticipating, but Cringe and Twy forcing Bimbo and Radeon away from that off spawn super early on by just dominating the outcome there, now have set themselves up to be in that kind of position where they can surprise Cammy and Hari, just really catching them off guard like that, and it is going to cause so much delay now. We saw Cammy sort of tucked away, hiding, and not only that, but you've got to recover your Surge, you've got to recover your duo, hope that you can make a reboot later on. You hope that Cringe and Twy decide to go elsewhere, but like, they got a taste of what it's like to be in first place, Levin, and it doesn't seem like they're opting to try and let go of that control with the end of the day results.
Yeah, not at all. They're trying to create separation. They're trying to create a gap and put UK back on the map. Of course, our good friend Venno, who used to be the one responsible for all of our UK wins, has moved over to NA to conquer that region, and he's left a hole that Cringe and Twy will try and fill.
And no more losing recipes for you guys, though. Just based off of what Cringe and Twy have been able to cook up on the day. iDrop and Gonzo, though, we've seen this duo have some struggles, but for the most part, they have definitely set themselves up into a decent point of contention. Granted, that first place site, 206 points theirs versus Cringe and Twy, leading with 324. It is quite the gap that has accrued between these teams in the top 5. Still, iDrop and Gonzo, the fact of the matter is, they've clearly got a decent amount of gas left in the tank, and they want to make sure that they don't hit the brakes too early. They want to try and close out with a solid day one, and part of it is lying in wait, but the longer they sit here, the easier it'll be third party to potentially shut them down after the fact. They do seem like they might get the surprise, though, on Twek and Mydro. It's Twy and Cringe. Like, they saw 4 elimination points each, and they're trying to get every single one of them that they can.
I ain't complaining. What's up? Oh, guys, come on, chill out. No UK on UK violence, guys. Come on, let's, come on, Pink and Harris, they need the points as well. The day's not been the strongest, so let's leave them be, please, friends. But the reality is, you kind of highlighted it. The way these guys have been playing, they're looking to desperately capitalize on any extra limb points they can, right? And so it's not common that we'll see them sort of leave people alone, but in this case, Pink and Riz having the high ground will give them control of the pace of this one. The pace of this one is changing, though, because iDrop and Gonzo are looking to take the fight to Twek now.
Gave them that false sense of security when they were using the vending, and Gonzo iDrop will be able to find what they were after. They sat it out, they made it work. Saw them sneaking about from the bushes, and well played to iDrop. Made sure to really make those shots count with that mythic pistol, and well, every starting point is just going to be all the more beneficial here as other teams kind of sneaking up on each other. Demish and Dharma a bit split from the other, but they've got Kenti and Thruzy sandwiched right between them, smack dab in the middle of it. Demish ready to collapse now after getting that initial shield crack, and not only that, but he's got Dharm also working alongside him.
Yeah, and this duo is interesting because they come into this game in 19th place, and I think the reality is if these guys didn't make Summit, well, not Summit, if these guys didn't make Globals, it would be quite a disappointment, right? I think when you think about the best Polish team this year, most people often will think of Dharm and Demish before they think of Cammy and Hari. And so it's good to see Cammy and Hari throwing themselves back into that category, into that conversation. Obviously this game a bit of a distraction and a takeaway from that. But the point of what I'm saying here is we want to see better from Dom and Dimash. Of course, the off-spawn situation isn't ideal, but I feel like we've seen them make the most of really scuffed off-spawn situations plenty of times. Oh no, look at the arrows coming in, Pink and Harris. They hear this reboot and they do not want to let it happen, or they do actually want to let it happen so that they can get the damage on Hari as he flies on in. And that's exactly what they'll do, Taco.
Barely even gets the chance to try and cut the cord, but again, Pink Curtis immediately seizing that opportunity. Cammy has managed to survive though, but realizing that all that time invested just playing for that initial reboot, and now he's still being locked into a position, restricted for which way he can even go. And if you just take a look at the map, Levin, you can see there just seems to be no openings for Cammy to properly look for a reboot. He is way off in no man's land. And even if he makes another play here for Hari, the team that's still boxed up and wonky could potentially look to shut it down.
Quite literally as far as you can possibly be right now. And honestly, this is just the darkest timeline for Cammy and Hari here. Not the game 6 they would have been hoping for. On the other side of the Polish front, Dom picking up the pace. It's what I said I wanted to see from them, and so hopefully they can close today out strong and maybe push themselves into a top 10 position.
Like this though, from Vico and Malabuka. A little bit of a calmer setting. Just floating around the map off these various launch pads, and obviously always got to be a bit wary